Over 500 private nonprofit colleges have closed in the last decade, with nearly 100 shutting down in the 2023 to 24 academic year alone. But let's be clear, this isn't a crisis. What we're seeing is the inevitable fallout of a predatory system that prioritized profits over people. Today, we're breaking down how big education's promises unraveled, leading to the massive shift we're seeing in higher education. Let's dive in. To understand how we got here, we need to talk about how college tuition spiraled out of control. It all started back in the 1980s when the federal government began guaranteeing student loans for virtually any amount colleges requested. That meant universities could raise tuition endlessly, knowing students could borrow to cover the costs. Think about it. Imagine a system where the more a college charges, the more they get paid. There's no accountability for whether the degree actually delivers value. That's the system we've been living with for decades. Since the 1980s, the cost of attending college has risen over 1,200%. That's far beyond inflation or wage growth. Instead of keeping education affordable, colleges grew bloated, building fancier campuses, adding layers of administrators, and investing in marketing instead of focusing on practical, job-ready skills. The result? A debt-fueled model that not only burdened students but created ripple effects across society. And here's the thing, we're still dealing with those consequences today. One of the most telling consequences of this system is the impact on U.S. birth rates. Around 2007, we started to see a sharp decline. Why 2007? That's when millennials, one of the first generations to carry massive student loan burdens, were entering their prime childbearing years. Here's the data. Birth rates fell from 14.3 births per 1,000 people in 2007 to just 11.4 in 2020. That's a 20% drop in just over a decade. And when millennials were asked why they weren't starting families, the answers were clear: student loan debt, financial insecurity, and the inability to afford children. Now there was a slight uptick in birth rates in 2022 and 2023, but in 2024, we're back to a decline. The birth rate is hovering around 12 births per 1,000 people, which is far below mid-20th century levels. The financial stress from student loans has fundamentally reshaped family planning for an entire generation. Here's how it all plays out. In 2000, birth rates were at 14.2 births per 1,000 people, not booming, but stable. Student debt was relatively low at $0.2 trillion, and college enrollment sat at 15.3 million students. By 2007, birth rates briefly ticked up to 14.3, but this was also the year student debt tripled to $0.6 trillion. College enrollment surged to 18.2 million students, driven by big education's marketing machine. By 2010, birth rates had dropped to 13.0, and student debt climbed to $0.9 trillion. This was the peak of college enrollment, with 21 million students. By 2020, birth rates plummeted to 11.4, student debt hit $1.5 trillion, and college enrollment started to decline, falling to 19.4 million students. In 2023 and 2024, birth rates hovered at 12 per 1,000 people, still far below historical averages. Student debt steadied at $1.7 trillion, while college enrollment dropped to 18.6 million students. This timeline makes one thing clear: rising student debt and financial insecurity have had a massive impact on birth rates and higher education. These aren't isolated problems, they're interconnected. Now let's talk about how families and students responded to these realities. The simple truth is this: people began to question whether college was worth it. Parents who felt trapped by debt taught their kids a crucial lesson: avoid student loans if you can. And that shift is showing up in the numbers. Between 2010 and 2021, college enrollment dropped by 15%. Families are looking for alternatives like trade schools, apprenticeships, and certifications that offer real-world skills without the financial burden of a degree. It's no longer about getting a degree, it's about getting the right skills for the job market. And honestly, that's a shift that makes a lot of sense in today's economy. Here's the thing. This isn't a crisis, it's a correction. Colleges built their entire model on rising tuition costs and guaranteed loans. But as fewer students buy into that promise, the model is falling apart. And that's not necessarily bad. It's forcing higher education to adapt, focusing on practical outcomes, affordability, and meeting the needs of students and employers. If anything, this is an opportunity for colleges to redefine their role in a changing world. So what do you think? Does this shift signal a positive change for education, or is there more to the story? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the issues shaping our future. Thanks for watching.